Hey, Mr. Reeves.
Hello, my friend.
How is life?
It's good.
You're looking awfully young today.
Oh, thank you. I shaved, maybe. I don't know.
Haircut?
Yeah, a little bit. I just got back from a week at scout camp.
At what camp?
Boy Scout camp. Well,
You
we don't
did
call it Boy
where?
Scouts anymore. It's scouting.
Yes,
Because
where?
we got last week was Bastrop, so right outside of Austin. So heat index between 112 and 120.
Insane.
And I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna, my little Boy Scout, my scout camp hack as an adult is going to be taking the BSA lifeguard class, hang out at the pool the whole week. Well,
Yeah, right.
yeah, they beat me down. They were like, no, part of this is open water training. Go down to the waterfront. Lake Bastrop, the part of the lake that we're in, is the outlet for the natural gas power plant. Water temp was about 92, 95 degrees. Yeah, not cooling at all. I'm in a rescue kayak, like splashing water on myself in the kayak. And it was like, this is not helping. But next week, we got a second scout camp. This one's in Colorado, Camp Alexander, Pikes Peak.
Nice.
Low in the 40s, highs in the 60s. I'm like, dude.
You may want to check temperatures maybe even lower than you expect. It's been unseasonably cool here in Colorado recently.
Bro, I have been in 112, 120 heat index. I don't care, man. Make it snow. Yeah, bring it, dude.
Yeah, but when you've got 11-year-olds that you're trying to keep alive, you may want, it's a different thing, right? But okay, yeah. But,
oh man, he's going into 7th grade. He's a first class scout. This
good.
dude's, yeah, he is hard. He's
Has he been to Philmont yet?
No, not yet. But you got to be 14. We're looking forward to that trip because my dad wants to go. So he just turned 70. He's doing a segment on the Appalachian Trail this summer. He's really hard. And so the three of us want to go. And my mom and my wife are like, oh, well, we'll just hang out in Taos, go do yoga and ceramic studios,
Yeah. I would say hang out in Santa Fe over Taos any day, but
no, Taos is special for us. We've done both, and we like the troublemakers and ne'er-do-wells in Taos. That's more of our speed.
well, Philmont's quite beautiful. I have not been to the camp there, but I've been to, of course, that area.
Yeah.
And a really cool place to go when you drop, if you do go, is to go stay at the St. James Hotel, which is right there. It's it's in the entry practically to Philmont.
So that road to Angel Fire, it's on that.
It's in Cimarron.
Okay.
And it is cool because it is one of the oldest hotels in the West, and it is where the Colfax County wars occurred.
Okay.
So when you go into the bar, you can see the gunshot, you can see where all the bullet holes are. There were many people killed there because it was a serious war going on between the rich people in Colorado and the homesteaders in New Mexico. There was a bunch of homesteading that was done in New Mexico, and then a bunch of doctors and a few senators decided to buy a bunch of the northern New Mexico, and they kind of pushed through this contract. And then they wanted to push everybody off the property, and they didn't go. And they were all most of them were had just finished fighting in the Civil War, and they were all from the South. And then the government decided they'd send a bunch of Buffalo soldiers over to try to push them out, and it was a mess. Very interesting.
I gotta check this out.
Yeah,
I gotta check this out.
It's called the St. James Hotel, and it's pretty cool. I have ghost hunted there, but haven't found any ghosts.
I thought there was just a bunch of ceramic artists in Taos. I didn't know there was more stuff. That's cool.
This is in Cimarron. There's nothing else there. There's nothing else there.
Just the other side of the mountain.
Yes, there's nothing except the St. James Hotel and the Boy Scout camp and a very cool museum.
That's cool. Yeah, there's we got two crews from our church going to Philmont, the older scouts, and the stuff they have to do, like
Oh.
30 feet of rope, a Dutch oven, a fly tarp. It's like it's 2023. Are we still doing that? And they're like, nope, we go old school. It's so funny.
Well, 4 years ago, if they had to go on, they would have been sent to clean up fire mess. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what Steve's nephew had to do. He was there for a month just doing fire work. Because there wasn't anything else you could do. They just sent all the older guys to go out and literally run chainsaws and clean up messes from the fires. We had some really bad fires out there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I heard about the water issue it caused.
Yeah.
All the ash getting into the water supply.
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
Hey,
Anyway.
you know, we could keep talking about New Mexico, gang.
Have fun when you go.
Andrea, did we want to do a meeting? I'm sorry, I stepped on it.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yes.
Right. Never been to New Mexico, so I kind of contribute to the conversation.
Yeah, someday Artilius is going to have we always say we're going to have a contributor conference, and we're going to do it in Roswell.
That would be awesome.
Well-
I'd be there.
All righty. So welcome everyone. Let's get started then. Today is June the 20th. This is the CDF Technical Oversight Committee meeting. Feel free to sign yourself in the list here. Let me just share the link. Just in case. Okay. All right, so I put a couple of things on the agenda. Feel free to add to it anything that we'd like to discuss and bring up today. I don't have any recorded action item from last time. So the first quick update, I wanted to remind everyone that the project representative elections for the TOC are going on. So we have 6 candidates from 6 projects for 4 seats. Voting is in progress and it will close on 26th of January. So if you're eligible and you haven't voted yet, please do so. Yeah. And also about SIG archival. Some time ago, we discussed about archiving the old SIGs, and Patty did the work for the security SIG, and I also archived the GitHub repo now, and I prepared a PR for the Chinese localization SIG. And I guess the main thing I wanted to share there, I added a quick checklist of things that needs to be done to archive a SIG in case we have to do it again in future. So we have a reference of what needs to be done. I'm not quite sure if there is a way to archive the mailing list. I don't have admin access to that. Yes, Mark?
So on the Chinese localization SIG, we did something similar in the Jenkins project. Was the decision to archive primarily driven by inactivity like it was for Jenkins, or was there some other reason?
Yes, primarily by inactivity. I think we brought it up some meetings ago, but the last meeting notes are from 2021.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So,
Do
yeah.
you need any approvals on those PRs, or are you all set?
Yeah, that'd be great. And I don't know if anyone has admin access to the repo. I wasn't able to archive that repo, the SIG Chinese localization. But if anyone has access to it, you can do it. Otherwise, I will just ask Fatih. Yeah, and for the mailing list, I don't really know, but I can also ask Fatih if anyone knows anything about group IO, if it's possible to make the mailing list read only. I think it's maybe nice to have if it's possible to kind of archive it, so if someone is writing to it, it's not expecting a response. Yeah.
Do you know if the mailing list is a Google group mailing list, or is it that other
No,
one, the
it's-
groups, like the
it's the-
groups me?
It's the groups.io.
Yeah.
So this, so say,
Right.
all right. Oh, maybe we don't even have one for the Chinese one, but we have one for the security supply chain that wasn't archived.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know how to do it with Google Groups, but not with this one.
Okay. I will check with Fatih if he knows. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. I put here the roadmap review. I think it's been quite a while since we've done some review of this roadmap project, so I thought it would make sense. If everyone agrees, it's not too much. So I did some updates before the meetings, trying to mark things that were done as done, to make sure we're not discussing this. So in the preview, we have streamline, simplify project onboarding. And one thing that we have in here is the clarify the IP policy. This is a very old item from 2019. And the idea is that to make sure that we have a policy around how we deal with things like logo brand ownership, CLA, DCO requirements, licensing requirements, and so forth. So I think we have some bits here and there, but we don't really have a policy. So yeah, I just bring Fatih. I don't know if anyone wants to discuss this. I just wanted to give an update, to be honest. If anyone has opinion of things that we should do or ideas, feel free to bring them up.
Yeah, we just on that topic, we kind of just ran into this conversation when we brought Emporis over as a sub-project.
Okay.
Particularly around like the logo and the name and the logo.
Mm-hmm.
And the legals told us if it wasn't copyrighted, they didn't really care. So Red Hat had never copyrighted that, but if it was copyrighted, then there was other documents that the Linux Foundation would require.
Okay. Yeah.
Tracy, did you really mean the word copyright, or did you mean trademark?
I'm sorry, trademarked.
Okay, thanks. Since copyright occurs naturally by the mere creation of the work. Great, thank you.
Yeah, so officially, if you had a trademark.
So the only thing that I could find in our policies is under the Sprite guidelines today. And yeah, so the open source project use trademarks such as project names and logos, a way to designate. And I think it says.
Yeah, so when we contributed Ortelius, we had this conversation around Deploy Hub because we thought we would contribute it as Deploy Hub, and that's when we learned about the initial trademark rule for them. So that's when we created Ortelius and renamed the open source project repo. And then I ran into it again with Emporis, and it's only for trademarked brands.
Maybe we just need to kind of put that in the project onboarding doc,
Yeah, that if it's trademarked,
what we need to, when we need to engage legal.
Mark was Jenkins, and Jenkins logos trademarked.
Yes,
I thought so.
yeah,
And that trademark then was transferred to the Linux Foundation.
yeah, that's my understanding, or transferred to whatever IP
However-
holding organization is used to hold the intellectual property. Yeah, it was transferred somewhere.
Yeah.
I always have to look up the legal words to be sure I understand that I've said the right word in the right place.
But not a lot of open source projects has gone to the effort of paying for a trademark on a open source.
Right. Not a lot of them have been threatened by Oracle in their early
Yes,
years.
that's why I was thinking it was probably just Jenkins that probably had a trademark.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if Spinnaker does, or Shipwright, or anybody else would.
Okay, I thought the trademark was always owned by the foundation, so when
They have
Yeah.
to apply for it. So we've, like, for
Mhm.
example, we have never applied, we as the CD Foundation have never applied for a trademark for any of our projects. We would have only had a trademark transferred to us. And I don't know if that's an issue. Like I don't, Melissa or Steve, was Persia trademarked?
I don't know. I don't
I
think
don't
they
either.
did. I don't think they did do a trademark on it.
Yeah, so I don't think that there's a whole lot of projects that we would come into kind of our room that had a trademark, but we should just put in, make sure the policy that if a trademark exists, it has to be transferred to the CDF. Actually get transferred to the Linux Foundation.
Well, and then also, not to complicate this anymore, but I will, there is a service mark as well.
a service mark, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah. What is that? If I'm
that's like, you can, it has to do with providing services. So if you're like Chain Guard could apply for a service mark around SigStore. So it's more around services versus a product. I don't think we have anybody that we'll run into in that world.
But it would apply the same way if
Yeah,
if a open source project comes to us with a trade and service mark, they will be transferred to over to the Linux Foundation. Yeah. It was kind of clear in that document that you just showed before. Because it really talked about the Jenkins, and I think this was probably written back then, because I see Dan was on the stream and Chris. So it probably happened because I doubt that there are very many trademarks that came to the Linux Foundation like Jenkins did, and Jenkins just had this Oracle thing they had to protect themselves from.
Right, so this is the CNCF policy. So in the charter, you have this IP policy where they talk about any project that is added with CNCF must have ownership of its trademark and logo asset transferred to the Linux Foundation. So I think the must refers to the transfer.
Yes.
So it's not that they must have ownership, but that they must have the ownership transferred. So if they have ownership, they must transfer it.
If they ever applied for it in the first place. So there's no trademark unless they've gone through the legal process through the government to officially trademark it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And there are different kinds of trademarks too, and this doesn't say if it's trademarked in another country. But I assume it's making the assumption that it's not just the US trademark, it's any trademark.
Okay. All right, but I think this is something that then we probably need to bring to the legal team from the Linux Foundation to have some maybe proposal for addition to the charter. So we specify that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to make sure that we're clear on what we want to see when we bring over from a legal standpoint, if we bring in a new project. Because Fatih and I had several emails back and forth to try to figure out what we had to do for Emporus, and the existing logo they created, we had to go find out from Red Hat if they ever trademarked it.
You mean JFrog?
No, this was Emporus.
Oh, Emporus, sorry. I was
Yeah.
thinking Persia.
Yeah.
Is it Emporus?
OREMPOROUS.
Okay. All right. Okay, sounds good. Put an action on me. All right. Okay, so the other missing bit in terms of streamline, simplifying project onboarding was this idea to create a how to join the CDF guide that we don't have today. There's not much in this item today as either, but I guess things like be aware that you need to transfer a trademark if you have any, what is the process, what the process that looks like. I guess a simple guide to get started for a project, what it means to join and how to join the CDF would be a nice thing to have, and that's what this issue is about.
Does the CNCF have something like that?
I think they do. I think they probably have a web page. But I may be wrong. I thought this is joined for members.
Yeah.
I can check. That's a good question.
They have this in the chat. Good old chat. I don't know how old it is. It's just how to contribute, though.
Oh.
Not sure what it's referring to, how to contribute. A project or how to be a contributor, you know?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was worth bringing this up, this guide, if anyone is interested in picking up this topic and maybe starting a draft or driving this work. Just wanted to, ask the question if anyone is interested.
Yeah, I'm interested in it for sure.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Melissa.
Help with that.
Yeah, and you know, if we make it clear, if we could do some kind of little easy on-ramp that, but maybe it'll encourage some incubating projects to come to us, right?
True. And I think I've brought this up in the past that even just on our website, we aren't really clear how to join as a project versus joining as a member. So I'm thinking that maybe someone might immediately think I need to pay a bunch of money in order to join as a project, which isn't the case.
Right.
Yeah. Would you mind assigning yourself on the issue, Melissa? Sorry. I know.
Yes, I can do that.
Thanks. Great. Okay, moving on, then there is this member project benefits document. I think we started this work, myself and Melissa, but we don't have any recent progress on that, right? So this is something we should pick up, and I think it's once we do have an initial version on the website, but it would be good to refresh it. I think that was the data status there. And I guess it's something also probably worth linking to from then the how to join the CDF document. So link to what the benefits be possibly. Okay, yeah, I'll just go through the issues. Feel free to stop me at any time if there are questions, comments. On the CDF reference architecture, best practices. So this is a work that is started in the best practices special interest group. And we had some discussions in the SIG interoperability. And yeah, so Melissa at the DZ kindly offered to help driving this initiative. I don't know, Melissa, if you want to say more about this. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. We had an initial meeting about this. I think we were, definitely talked about bringing it into the interoperability group and combining this work with the kind of a relaunch of the special interest group, but working on it a little bit in the background too, between now and when we relaunch, which will be August 3rd. I guess just a little bit of background on the meeting that we had. It was Andrea, myself, and a gentleman from F5 working with Nginx, Damian Curry and Fatih. And we discussed, where the appropriate place to start would be in order to get community engagement, getting the right drawings involved, and deciding just how far down the road we want to go in actual implementation examples, things like that. So it's just starting, a good time for people to join if they're interested in this. So I'm excited about that work moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. Just going to say that. Please join the mailing list if you're interested in this part of the project.
Thanks. Okay, archive the Chinese localization. It's in progress. Already discussed about it. Then this is work that will started, document and promote the role of the TOC contributors. So we have a TOC contributors file. where all there. Oh, this is a team actually. This is the. Yeah, so we have this concept of TOC contributors in the TOC. And right now we have a number of contributors, including all the project representative. So this issue is about better documenting what is the role of this, what being a TOC contributor means. So it's more documentation type of work. Yeah. In terms of near-term items that we have, we started some conversation about the Go SCM onboarding, and I think the first item. So there is a number of to-dos, but I think nothing has really happened on this since last time we spoke about this. So no real updates. I don't know if anyone has any news about this topic. I can try to reach out again to Ankit or the other involved to see if this is still something that we want to pursue or not. Yeah, I guess refresh the TOC contributor role is a sub item of the other one. I added a new item about the election of TOC co-chair to be done after the current TOC project representative election is done, now that we have the new charter policy about the co-chair. So that we don't forget about it. And I think we have a couple of things in the backlog that are interesting if people want to pick them up as like side projects. So we discussed about creating a project communication map. So create a document to guide the CDF community and help them navigate CDF project. So how to contribute, what are the communication channels for all the different projects hosted at CDF. So this is something that we don't have today. And then mitigate project infrastructure cost. So this is also a placeholder for initiative in this area. So we don't have anything running right now about this. But if someone feels like driving some work with the projects in this area, please pick up this item, and we can have some discussion in the TOC meeting as well.
Can you go back to the number 169, the project communication map?
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should just ask each project to provide us a link to their how to contribute page, and we can have Roxanne create a page off the website that says how to contribute to our projects. And it would give a link to each of the project's directions, because I know we have worked quite hard on that, and I know Jenkins has too. So that would kind of make sense, right? Just to let the projects provide the link to how to contribute to each project. I don't think there's going to be a standard for everybody. I'm looking.
I really like that idea.
Good.
Read that around.
Because then we could just get it. I think it's important for each project to have that information out there.
Yeah, definitely. And they will update it when they need to, right?
Exactly. Okay, I just went to the page and there it is. So if we go to the projects, we have links to each one of these. Say we just go to CD events, it's the first one. We could have in there, in that little box there for each of one, a little note that just says how to contribute with a link. Or we could just create a how to contribute guide that's off the top so people see it easily. And then each project is listed, each project page is listed.
I go for the second, where we have a separate page on how to contribute. Just to make it, like you said, the more obvious and more easier to navigate from, instead of going into each project and seeing how to contribute. I think just having the single page like you're talking about would be more beneficial to people poking around.
I don't think it would take Roxanne that much work to put it together either. Bati is not on this call today, so
No, I think he might be traveling to. He has a presentation in Japan.
oh,
He's probably
okay.
traveling.
So maybe we hold off on that, or is there a email that we can send out to the projects representatives to ask for their page? And if they don't have one, they probably should have one. I don't know if CD Events has one, but
Yes, well, for how to we have this community page on city events.
yeah, that would be the page that you could link to. I think most of us have something. And if we don't, maybe that should be a requirement for becoming a project, is to have a page, a contributor page.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think contributors and communication channels for users as well. Yeah, because I've seen a few times people looking for where to post questions about the certain projects, and because we don't have all the communication happening in the CDF Slack either, so many projects have their own Slack channels or other kind of tools that they use. So I think it's good to have all this information in one place.
And we're all doing it a little different, because here's the Ortelius one. I'll put that in the chat. Oh, how did I've been just chatting with Mark for some reason there. So it gives us, it even gives us the guidelines. And then down there it says, here's how you keep up. And then the code of conduct.
Yeah, because on that page, we actually have more of the highlight, and then halfway through the page, there's a learn more to become a contributor.
Yeah.
That gets into the gory details.
Yeah. And here is the Discord channel. So I think, we should ask the project, and like you proposed, Tracy, to get these links. And then we can put them in easy to discover format on the website. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think it'll take Roxanne that much to put that page together. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, if she has the links.
Okay. What I can do, we have project representative, or either part of the TOC or TOC contributors for all the projects. So what I can do as a starting point is to send an email to the TOC mailing list and asking for this information from all the project representatives.
If you create a shared Google Doc and share it with them and ask them just to add their page to that doc.
Yeah.
Put in an example too, so they don't respond to you with static information rather than a page.
Okay. All right, thanks. So the third one, the third item is about TOC budget usage policy. And so this was triggered by the fact that in 2021, we had this budget and we don't have a policy describing how the TOC would allow projects and seeks to request budget. I don't know if we have budget now, but yeah, so that's something. It doesn't seem too urgent to me, but if someone wants to work on this,
Does the,
Feel free
do we
to.
have a budget? Does it, I mean, that was back in 2021. Do we have a 2023 budget?
I don't believe we do, so I don't think it's very
Cause I
urgent.
know like, our Azure Kubernetes cluster for Artilius is being paid for by the Linux Foundation. Now, how that's happening, I have no idea.
Mhm.
And isn't that the same for Jenkins?
Yeah, I don't think this was about like the CI cost. This was more like in 2021, there was this like 10K allocated to the TOC for technical initiatives, and we used that case at the end for the CD events website refresh. But yeah, and we don't have that same budget for 2023, and I don't know if there will be not for 2024. So maybe we can park it until we do have that budget again. If the case happens again, then we can decide. We can write a policy for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's gonna come from more from the governing board side of things on how they want to handle it, I think.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Was it requested or just handed to us?
Back in 2021, I was on the budget committee about then, and I vaguely remember some problems we were having with getting some of the Jenkins costs covered. And I think we just put it in there as a placeholder. I don't think we ever spent any of it, though.
And that's where, like, Andrea was saying, it got moved around and the CD events, I think, ended up using it.
Got
Yes.
it.
Okay, so
Yeah, so we don't have any budget at the moment, so I think that we can definitely park that. And
yeah,
we may want to have a discussion before they do their budget planning for 2024 to see if we would like to have any funds, but I don't think there's going to be much available.
yeah.
Which is another discussion that we should have about funding our projects and what we need to do to get more funding to our projects. Personally, I think CD events should have, we should be looking at Alpha Omega and seeing if Alpha Omega has some money they can throw over to CD events, because without an easy way to onboard the new tools that the OpenSSF is recommending, the tools can get created, but nobody's going to adopt them if it's not easy to update the CD pipeline. So I think that we should be having a discussion about getting getting CD events funded. And it would be really good for the CD Foundation to have some recognition on that too.
So basically to help with adoption.
Yes, with of the open SSF, what they're calling eventually, right now they're calling it their tool belt. Their recommended tooling.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Tracy. We have this from 2022 about AWS and Azure testing account for Nginx. Yeah, I just put a ping, I don't know, to Fatih and Anke to see if there was any update. I don't think there is anything for this group to be discussed there. CD event specification 1.0. I guess this was more like a placeholder for something that we want to reach. And just put an update on the latest releases and what we're planning for CD events. So I put the link to the.
I reached out to Roxanne too and asked her if she had a calendar that we could be added to. So she reminds us to ping us about social media around that release.
Okay. For the 0.4.
Yes. Because I'll put it on my calendar too, but it would be good for Roxanne, who's managing that stuff, to know that that is something that we should be talking about. It's like our outreach committee and us, we don't necessarily, and the TOC doesn't necessarily talk very often.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Thanks. We have this item, which is a placeholder from the work that Kara was doing on the landscape. So I'm not quite sure who owns this now. I don't believe it is us though. So, but I'm not quite sure if anyone knows if this work is parked for the time being. I think Fatih has been updating the landscape, so maybe I can.
You should be able to do it by pull request, right? Wasn't that the whole point?
Well, some of this was going through and trying to rework the tiles to kind of allow for things to be in multiple categories and all that stuff. So I like Andrea was saying, I think Fatih and us, and maybe even Roxanne, were going through and doing landscape updates. There's just some that went through this morning or last night.
Okay, yeah, because I think this was about like proactively driving the work of, going through a list of companies and add them to the landscape. I guess reach out to the different involved parties. I don't know what the process there is exactly, but okay, let's leave it there then. I think updates are happening, as said Steve.
Yeah, because I just a couple days ago, like the VSM consortium harness, some updates around shipwright, a social image was added.
Yeah. Okay.
So it looks like it's happening. But like you said, I don't think we're actively hunting down companies on purpose to add. It looks like we're just waiting for folks to say, can you add me type of thing.
Yeah. All right.
Which probably is okay at this point.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we had. So this, yeah, that's all we had in the roadmap. So thanks for going through. We don't have any project updates planned for today. We have some upcoming presentations. So looking forward to a presentation about Empowerers in July, city events in August, Rotarians in September, and Nginx in October. Sorry, scrolling up and down. SIG updates. Thanks, Melissa. I think you provided already updates. I don't know if there is anything you wanted to add.
The only other thing to add, I guess, is the supply chain SIG. We talked about bringing that into the interoperability SIG during the same meeting time until there's enough engagement to, if it makes sense, to split it off again.
And Melissa, I think that I'm curious if how different the interoperability and the events team are. Have we ever compared notes, like what you're doing in your reference architecture and what the CD events is doing in their vocabulary? And are
We certainly can. I know there's other discussions going on with interoperability, like maybe post implementation of events, for example, like talk about observability stuff, reporting stuff. I know I'd be interested in like attestation, movement of artifacts between components, things like that, which I guess makes more sense in supply chain security. But yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I know when we relaunch the interoperability SIG, we'll be doing kind of a presentation of what it is and what it's about. So that would be helpful. But were you thinking of combining or just making sure that we're
I would hate for us to
communicating with each
be,
other?
it would be weird for us to be both working on solving a similar problem and branching in two different directions.
Exactly. Yeah, so I have the same
Yeah.
question for CD events. What you guys are currently working on too.
I say that we
Yeah.
need to plan a meeting between the events and interoperability team and discuss what we're doing.
Yeah, sure. I don't have the feeling that we are like working on same things. But for sure we can have a meeting together to sync and maybe do some planning together. To make sure we have different topics. I mean, on the events SIG. So we used some of the time in that SIG for like more of the admin or planning topics for the CD events project. So for instance, we've been doing some planning for the CD events 0.4 release as part of the SIG events. We had some discussions about the collaboration with the CNCF app delivery tag. And one thing that I wanted to bring up is that we had some initial meeting with them, and there was quite interest and enthusiasm about possible interactions or between CD events and what the Potato had service, that is the software artifact produced by the CNCF app delivery tag to demonstrate different type of app delivery strategies. And so one of the ideas that came up there was to create a new version of the Potato Head that is based on CD events, which everyone seems like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So I think if we wanted to do it, it would be really welcome by both groups. But it kind of stopped there because it's we need people basically to drive this work, and someone to say, okay, yes, I'm going to work with the different contributors involved and make this happen, basically. So if anyone wants to or knows someone who might be interested in driving this kind of work, please let us know in the SIG events, because we're looking for people for doing this. And I think this is it would be an interesting project to do for someone to pick up and drive this. And if no one is available, we'll try and drive this from the SIG events group or CD events project. But it's the same kind of group of people, and yeah, So I don't think
on
we
On
Yeah.
the same note, we should put another bullet point there is, I'm working with the OpenSSF security tool belt. And trying to get them to take on, the definition of security events. So looking for contributors to drive CD events for security. SBOM, signatures, CVEs, and everything else they're working
Yeah.
on. I'm trying to make sure that we're not forgotten in their conversation.
thanks a lot for that.
And that would be the same with the reference architecture, but I don't know enough about it to keep them apprised of what's happening there.
So for the security events, it sounds great. I think it would be. I'll try to join the meeting next time for the tool belt as well. I couldn't join the last meeting. I think it would be great to have people or security expert from the OpenSSF to join our city events meeting, so we can have the discussion there with the rest of the community and plan those security events.
I
together
am
with the
working on
rest.
that. I am
Yeah.
working on it. I'm making sure that everybody knows about, because they didn't even know what CD events were, so they wouldn't know to bring it up. So I'm going to continue pounding on them with that topic. They'll go, or so they'll be like, don't say Tracy's name. They'll say, oh, if you say Tracy's name 3 times, she'll bring up CD events.
And the OpenSSF tool belt working group is meeting in 6 minutes,
Yes, so
just to give you a heads
Oh.
up.
It's today. Okay.
yes, it's
Oh. All right. Good to know.
right after this meeting, so it's a good one it's easy to remember.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. Other than that, we are also using some of the space in the SIG events to continue collaborating with the VSMI and Steve. He was on this meeting until some time ago, and he mentioned that he has some good updates for us in the next meeting. And I see there is a question from Robert, who is not, well, in the meeting anymore, but how the Spinnaker and Jenkins integration going. So for the Spinnaker one, the RC was approved. So we have a PR from Jalander for the implementation. And I think Ben from Apple is working on setting up a meeting with the Spinnaker maintainers to make a demo of the current implementation. For the Jenkins integration, the Jenkins plugin is published in the official plugin repository. So that's current state. Yeah, I guess that's all of the SIG updates that well, supply chain was mentioned already. Thanks, Melissa. The other thing that I added to the agenda, but there's no time for it today, again, it's a follow-up to something we discussed briefly in the past. When I proposed that maybe we could consider this sandbox state for the project lifecycle. And we discussed at the time that before deciding anything like adding, do we need or do we not need, it would be good to review the current criteria for each level that we have today and identify what are the benefits and being in incubating as opposed to graduate. And I added emeritus there as well. So maybe that's something we can discuss in one of the upcoming meetings. All right. Okay, 3 minutes left. Anything else anyone would like to bring up? Nope. Okay, well, great to see everyone today. Thanks for joining. And see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Bye.